It seems I'm on my controversial streak with these videos, first pointing out the flaws in the current modding scene, and then moving on to say that the account migration isn't actually that bad. And now I've removed all the pitchforks from my door, I can finally make the video about the way the Minecraft community is acting towards the creators of Minecraft and the newest mob vote, and ask the question, is it justified? Or are we being too hard on Mojang? Oh god, not again. Recently, we had this year's mob vote announced to us, giving us the choice between a crab that can allow players to place blocks further away, a penguin that can help boost your boat's movement speed, and an armadillo which can be killed to make wolf armor. Now, I'll give you 5 seconds to guess which one. It's the crab. Of course it's the crab. Why would you want your boat to go faster or your wolf to be beefier if you have crab people? But this actually begs the question. All these mobs look great and sound like an awesome addition, but why aren't we getting all of them? Why not just add all 3 of them? I mean, they all do pretty simple things and add some fluff to the game that could actually make it feel refreshing again. On top of that, we have had mods like Cobblemon that add a whole range of mobs for years now. So if modders can do this, why the hell can't Mojang, a $1 million company? Actually, it's pretty simple, because I think it's finally time we talk about a concept called tech debt. Now, tech debt is exactly what it sounds like, the amount of debt a company or project occurs over time. To compare it to regular debt, when you take out a loan for whatever reason, you are expected to pay it back. You get a large infusion of cash, with the big downside being that you are liable to pay back your loaners. In the tech space, it's kind of similar. Let's say you wanted to program the ability for players to double jump. In order to do this, you need to check if the player is already in the air. You could just check the collision and see if the player is touching a solid block, but that would need time to implement. So instead, you use an already pre-existing system to check if the player is touching air underneath themselves. And now you have your program checking 3,000 blocks beneath the player to find a single air molecule. But hey, at least the player can now double jump and it's all fine, right? Shortcuts like these and just general non-important bug fixes or performance tanking code get shoved further and further to the back until the system is so integrated with the newer ones that trying to fix any of the shortcuts you made will result in the newer systems being broken. As explained by KingBogs on Twitter, quote, Minecraft is built on a legacy engine that is almost 15 years old, so there's a lot of catch-up and cleanups that are needed just to implement something seemingly simple. And this is kind of what I mentioned in my migration video as well, that the old systems are simply so difficult to work with and implement anything on that it's simply a task in and of itself getting it actually to work. A well-maintained car from 15 years ago will surely run smoother than an engine left to rot. Don't forget that the actual Minecraft engine was made by Notch, a guy famous for accidentally making the most recognizable mob in history. And when he left, Jeb admitted to rewriting some of his code, as Notch wasn't exactly the best programmer. After all that, they just focused on adding more and more to an already shaky foundation, and 10 years later, we are finally starting to see the cracks. A good example of them trying to fix something that they broke before was the new lighting engine. Before the fix, the dreaded lighting bug was commonplace, where some blocks, especially slabs, would be a little bit finicky, causing massive lag spikes to recalculate the rays. However, in 1.20, they redid the lighting engine, giving it a big boost to performance. The rest of the update was a bit underwhelming, with just cherrywood and archaeology and the sniffer being added. Things like this take a lot of time. But let's address the other elephant in the room, Bedrock. Bedrock is made on C++ with a much newer engine, resulting in much smoother and well-optimized code. You know, minus the few world-breaking bugs, lamau. But more important, it's different from Java, simply because a feature that is cooked up by the Java team might not be as simple to implement on Bedrock and vice versa. I can imagine a lot of features, new mobs and mechanics getting scrapped as it simply can't be implemented on both versions, to a degree that both teams are happy with. And keep in mind, Bedrock Edition is easier to update because it's a new code base, while the Java team will likely have to play catch up in both implementing and polishing the feature, hence why updates are either sparse or just so lackluster, as implementing anything that might be groundbreaking or just so advanced will likely take the Java team twice the time than the Bedrock team needs. Actually, if you want to talk about how different both versions are, we could take a look at their storage systems. Anvil for Java and RecNet for Bedrock. While the Bedrock version uses zlib to encode its data, making it simple to register new data for storage, like new blocks, Anvil uses the packet encoder, an encoder designed to send stuff over the network while it's doing local storage stuff. Not only do you need to hope that when you add a new thing for the storage, it's already a known variable in the encoder, you also need to ensure security and make sure it doesn't trip over anything else. Now, I'm not a fly at the wall, but knowing how hard updating old systems are and just the major differences between both versions, I can imagine that these are some of the likely reasons for most of their issues. But if this is the case, why are we only hearing about them now? And let's talk about another elephant in the room here, modding. When I asked you guys in my community about this very topic, and if we are being too harsh on Mojang, it came out to a rather sizable amount telling me no, we are not being too harsh on them. In fact, we have seen mods that go above and beyond what Mojang does on a regular basis. But in my opinion, that argument falls apart the second you actually think about it. Sure, mods can be amazing, like Create for example, with its vanilla style graphics, non-game breaking mechanics to a certain degree, and all around just fun gameplay. But people tend to forget that this mod is made by a team with more contributors than my village has inhabitants. Let's actually look at something smaller scale. Let's say you wanted to make a mod with a custom block. In simple terms, Java is a class-based coding language, meaning you can call upon classes to report, change, or create an object. Let's say you wanted to create a block as an object. You would use the code that Mojang already uses for its own vanilla blocks and make a similar class for your blocks. Dunzo. What I'm trying to say here is that you can't compare your IKEA Melm you just made from their instructions to a custom-made closet that took a craftsman 10 months to make. Sure, at the end of the day, you have a thing that does the same function, but one was made using pre-made presets and easily derived methods, and the other took years of skill, design, and hard work to make. Not to take away from the many talented people making wonderful mods out there, but comparing making a mod to a game like Minecraft is just not viable. And yes, modders also have to deal with the 15-year-old engine, but again, they have a way of following in Mojang's example. While Mojang needs to do this from scratch for 2 different versions, and with the added pressure of the massive fan base actively shitting on them if they do something they don't like. In the words of that very same Mojang employee, if a mod does something a player doesn't like, they can just disable it in the config. But this is not something you can do in the vanilla game. How many of you have actually gone into the vanilla Minecraft config? And performance enhancing mods like Optifine usually do the optimization in very hacky ways, with a lot of people's systems now crashing as they updated to OpenGL 4.1, which isn't supported on Mac, and again, crashes a lot of people's games. With that being said, let's address the final elephant in this room. Are you sure this isn't the zoo, by the way? It smells like shit in here. Now, I will admit, Mojang isn't the greatest company out there, but it's far from the worst, and we as a community have the duty to keep them in check, which is kind of what they want from us. But please, for the love of God, stop shitting on every single thing they do. King Boggs came out with these claims and got absolutely harassed by the community. I understand you're frustrated, but this developer who just chose to speak out and give us valuable insight information, which never happens, got harassed and said he was wrong, even though he works at the company being discussed. That's not okay. It is okay to be wrong, you know? I'm wrong too, often even, and thank you for those who keep me on my toes. But that being said, Mojang, I understand that the mob vote is just a cool thing you do for the community, and it's likely just a collection of ideas you've thrown in the maybe bin, and want to know which one would be best received by the players. But if you're gonna make me choose between gold, a turd, and a baseball, I'm gonna choose the gold. Of course the crab's gonna win. It's an actual mechanic, not just some situational gimmick. Not everyone uses a boat or has dogs, but everyone has had that moment where you just wanted to build that last block and couldn't because it was just out of range. Just add the crab, man. Anyway, I will be streaming the Minecraft live event on the 13th. Set your clocks for that. And other than that, I was Lunar. You were awesome. And thank you for watching. I'd like to thank my lovely patrons for their continued support, especially Spiff, our newest Pebble, and of course my boulders Farron, Jens, Rebecca and Willocks, and a massive mountainous thank you to Comet, Hans Franz, Millhouse for the mountain pledge. You guys help out a lot and I feel very blessed to have you here. If you would like to help me out and get access to interviews and behind the scenes footage and our Patreon Minecraft server, feel free to pledge right now. Thanks again, lads.